Hello, Internet, and welcome to Say Report Jr. My cannot remember what I was going to say next, so I'm just going to say my name. I'm one of your host companions, Zach Sarowick.
And I am your other companion. Now you screwed me up. And I am your other
I wasn't even
co-host companion, Dale Decker. I
I wasn't even
know.
trying this time.
I
I wasn't even
know.
trying that time. So here's the thing. We're going to get into later why that stumbled on me because I've been recording something and there's like I've been saying the name of this podcast and like a whole string of other things after that, which make no sense in an
Nice.
audio format.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh
Oh
God.
God, Dale, how's your? It's been more than a week now. Originally, we were going to record this like 3 days after the last episode, and then there
Yes.
was like scheduling conflicts,
Yep.
and now we're 2 days late. Oh
Hey, it
man,
happens. It happens. The
I
important
told
thing.
myself this
So we're
episode would
doing it.
not be another exhausted episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That's what I told
so
myself too.
there we
So
go.
I'm ready. I'm not as I should be tired today, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, it's been
So
more than a week. What have you been up to?
I've been up to a whole lot of nothing. No, I'm looking.
Oh God. Oh God, no.
Oh God, no, no, no. I, I sound like a broken record by this time, but I've been playing a lot of Paladins.
All right.
Um,
Oh, actually,
it's
I
just so
tried that
much
out
fun.
too.
You did try
I
it
finally
out.
tried it out this weekend.
Yes,
So last weekend we
it was
discovered
free.
that
Yeah. Well, it
yeah, they
wasn't
were doing
free,
a
but well, it's always free. All the champions were free to play.
right. They did
Yeah.
like a special weekend to show off the game where all of the champions were unlocked, and I was
hmm
like, if there's no better time to jump in here and play this game. So I tried it for a couple of days. It was great. I
Yeah,
really liked it.
I told you it's a fun game.
I got to play as Pip, which is great. I went
Yeah.
through a bunch of the support characters, but I got to play as Pip, which was great, which was like the amount of like actual aim you need to just lob grenades was way more than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's why I like that game because, um, it is you kind of have to have good aim in some respects. There are others where it's like I'm just gonna throw this and run and kill 5 people. Um, but yeah, I like that you kind of need to aim, and if you can't
Yeah.
aim, you're kind of screwed. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I mean, it was really interesting in that I've never played Overwatch, never touched the game before because I don't feel like
Oh,
I've
you
never,
haven't? Oh, okay.
no. And it's because it's not free. I mean, that's the
I
shit answer.
mean,
Like I have to, so like, so my experience with like a class-based kind of shooter like that
mm,
is Team Fortress 2 from like 10 years ago.
okay,
I mean,
all
that game
right,
is still going,
yeah,
but like that was the first kind of big multiplayer game I got into, and so that was as I was playing it, that's kind of what
what
my
you
frame
thought
of
of?
reference was for.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So like I'm lobbing grenades a lot like the demolition man from TF2. And then I'm like, okay, so I've got a gun and I'm just running in and shooting stuff, just like if I was like the scout or even the heavy in TF2. Perfect. It was weird how it all came flooding back to me
Yeah.
when I haven't touched that game in so long, but like that like kind of cartoony class-based hero shooter thing, like that's just where my mind was at. And it was really amazing, like to just kind of go in and be like, okay, 10-minute match, I can do this, as
Yeah.
opposed to like Fortnite or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where those are like you're a solo player and it's like 30 minutes long and you're exhausted and you have to do everything. And this, it was like, I've got one job. My job is to keep people alive.
Mm.
So like I went in and played. There's one support character that's like unlocked for everybody. Is it Janice? Is that her name? Jadis,
Is she
something like that.
the is she the purple girl?
I got like
Or
the long, like white hair. It might even be a guy. I thought it was a girl, but like a
oh
mask on their face and like long, light
oh
hair.
oh
I think
oh
that's the
that's the guy who uses stars. So yeah, that's a he. So it's weird. There are characters who are like they are filed under support, but
right.
and they truly are support characters. But there are a lot of characters in it that provide support as well.
Like support is like a very
Um,
vague term. It's like
it
support
it
either means you're
really
the
is,
healer or you're
cause
the guy throwing out like turrets or you're kind of going
exactly.
around and doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also like I know the cool thing about paladins that Overwatch kind of has is the way that you can heal yourself up. And it's always been a favorite mechanic of mine where if you need to heal, you got to take a step out of battle. You
Right.
need to do that. Whether or not like I like the strategy that comes with that, cuz it's like okay, I know I can get this person and maybe I can get a few hits on that person. But if I can't get hits on that person, I'm dead. So I need to duck out quick, hide for a second, and then come back in guns blazing. Like I like that thought. It's why like I'm trying to remember other games that I mean there's so many games like that that have that mechanic where if you just take a breather, you can regain some of your health. I feel like Bulletstorm is like that, and you know,
A lot of like
once
cover-based shooters that have
yes,
come out are a lot
exactly.
like that, where it's like just
Um,
take cover for a few minutes,
yeah,
catch your breath, figure out your strategy.
Call
Yeah.
of Duty I think has elements of that too. Even I think Batman has cover of like, and
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man
like
Shattered Dimensions has parts of it. So it's like all these games that I really really enjoy have other. Well, Call of Duty is so so, but it has that element. Whereas in Overwatch, there's health packs. There are either full health packs or there are like restore half of your packs, and as you play Overwatch, you know exactly where those are. So it does add that same strategy to it, which is again another element of Overwatch that I like. But it's different because it's like okay, I don't have to plan my route to get to the health pack, and 9 times out of 10, someone is guarding it.
right.
So
Like
it's
if you know where the health pack is,
someone
they know
else
where that health
does
pack is.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's that next level strategy. It's kind where like I guess Overwatch would be, and I feel bad. I really dope because it's kind of the best analogy for it. Overwatch is the strategy of like chess in a sense where you need to be 2 steps ahead of your opponent
Right.
or and you also have to have consin oh my god,
Contingency?
thank you, contingency plans where it's like if on Saints Row, not Saints Row, well I could use Saints Row, if on Route 66 I can't get to the health pack that's in the gas station, I need to book it to the next area in the cave and get it there. Like it's layers on top of layers. Whereas I like in Paladins, you don't have to think that much. You can just
No.
be like, I need to cover. I need to hide behind this wall. And cool, got my health up. Let's go. And
Yeah,
it's
like my whole strategy. So I'm playing as again, I forget their name. I still want to say it starts with a J, but that original
it's
support one where
I know his name too. Like I
but like the main healing factor is that you just tag people from like even like through a wall and then they just start healing on their own.
yeah.
So like we were playing one of those like capture the point
Mhm.
missions where it's just like here's the one area in the middle and whoever's in there until a certain point value is reached, you win the game. So I camped in the middle of that. It's like it was me and there was one guy who just kind of organically came in and protected me, and we just camped in the middle. And
Nice.
then all I was doing was I just went in a circle and I went, well, okay. I just started tagging people, and then as that tag ran out, I tagged them again. And then if it looked like someone had less health than someone else, I just tagged them. And so I was just sitting there spinning in a circle and then shooting anyone that tried to get closer to the point. And it was perfect. And I didn't have to talk to anyone.
Yep.
Like there was I don't use any of that voice chat. That's like I have no idea how that even works on a Switch because Nintendo is weird and Nintendo is Nintendo. So I didn't even I just jumped in. I was like, I'm just going to keep people alive. That's my job with this character. So that's all I'm going to do. And as long as I do that, no one's going to get mad at me. So I'm just sitting around, just tag, tag, tag,
Yeah.
tag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing about Paladins is like in Overwatch, I don't use the mic, but I do use the limited chat options that are on the
Right.
PS4. And it's because the positioning of it is a little bit better than I would say for Paladins on like the Switch.
Right.
I don't remember how it plays on the PS4 because I haven't played it that much, but it's just like, oh, one button and I can say I need healing. one button I can say people to follow me. One
And
button
that
I
is
can say
actually
group up in Overwatch. Whereas in Paladins, it's like hit the button. Which action do you want to use? Tactics?
uh,
Friendly? Do you want
God.
to do an emote? So then it's like, I want tactics. So you hit a tactics. It's like, oh, flank left, flank right, flank up. Like it's like, guys, no, this is not. This is not what I want.
We are not a platoon of people.
Yeah,
Let's stop what we're doing.
this is not. I'm just trying to have fun with cartoon violence. Yeah, it's a much more difficult and like less user friendly chat option, so I don't ever use it.
Yeah.
I just kind of hope people are like, "Hey, I should go help them." But yeah, no. So I haven't been playing a lot because I've been dealing with other stuff and planning and all that other stuff. But it has quickly become one of my more favorite Switch games on top of Kirby.
Awesome.
What else have I done? Oh, we went to Philadelphia and Boston. So that was fun. Saw Jimmy Buffett.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of
Are you
fun.
just are you just kind of living that boat life now?
Oh
You're-
yeah. Oh, all the time. No, it was actually a really good concert. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it would I actually don't know what I thought it was gonna be, but I had never seen a concert at Fenway, so I was a little
Oh.
nervous as like how they set up the stage and everything. But it was actually like really cool how they did it, and our seats were still. I mean, it's a baseball field, so like every seat you can see where it is pretty much. So
Right.
it was nice. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, Philadelphia. I don't know if Devin mentioned it, but we went to a steakhouse, and
Oh yes,
he
yes, you
mentioned
did
this,
tell
right?
this story.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't
Oh
remember if he did
gosh.
or not, but yeah, so that happened, which
Your
was
family, man.
fantastic.
I don't know what karmic like bad juju you guys threw out
I
there,
have
but
no
like the
idea.
last like 2 or 3 weeks really has
If
been just
if no one listened to the last Say Report, which is our sister podcast, you should go check them out. Yeah, so like 2 or 3 weeks ago, my car got into an accident, got totaled. I actually bought a car today, so whoop whoop on that. But then last weekend when we were in Philadelphia, we were at a steakhouse and we sat down, hadn't even ordered anything, no drinks. I think we just got our menus, and we valeted at the steakhouse. And the valet kid comes up to our table and looks at my mom, and he's like, "I'm really sorry, ma'am, but someone just hit your car as I was pulling away." And she, like, no hesitate. Like, it was just like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." Like, and she just got up and walked out. And it's like, yeah, that's
Right,
fucking stressful
I
because
don't mean
we're
to
already
laugh
dealing
at
with the
you,
car.
It's just I don't mean to laugh. It's just like you put that up against the car accident before it, and you put it up
Oh,
against the
yeah.
weekend I had, and I just
Yeah.
like all I could think is just like, oh man, let's just like it's like we did something to insult someone, and it's just like the universe went, I'm sorry, I really got to do this. I don't mean to do this, but it's my job. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just whack your car in a valet parking lot. You're
Yep.
not even gonna be in it this time,
Mhm. It was crazy.
which
I
is
mean,
somehow more insulting. Like,
yes, yeah. I mean, I'm okay. Everybody was okay and safe, and
right.
but yeah. And then I mean, they paid for our dinner, so that was nice. But yeah, it was just. I mean, it's funny, kind of, but it's also
funny
super
afterwards.
stressful because
Yeah.
it's like we still have to. Like my mom is still dealing with insurance people, and it's just like, God, like why? So that happened, and I guess. Oh, I also saw Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, really?
It was like my first movie in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Did you have any sort of horrible experience getting in there, or did the
No!
movie theater work this
No,
time?
it worked. Movie
Oh,
Pass
thank God.
worked. Movie Pass worked. It was great. Got in, thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Glad there was something.
Yeah, it was good.
Uh,
That's been my week.
let's see. I think Will You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers doc, is playing at the only two theaters that exist in this town, the
Oh,
one screen
really?
theaters, on both of them at the same time. So who knows? Maybe I'll go see them
See that
again.
again? Oh my
It's like
god.
I really need to remember that there's happy people in the world. Excuse me.
No.
Oh God,
So,
because so let's see, my week started. So my week started actually weird because I was decided I would sit down and rewatch. This is a weird thing in my horror fandom in that I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie movies, even though they're not like I know they're not good
no.
movies. Like I don't always watch them and come out of them going, yeah, I enjoyed that, and yet I will rewatch them 1,000 times.
One
Like
uh
House of
one of my people I work with really loves Rob Zombie.
I don't like this is the thing. I have never listened to a piece of Rob Zombie music except for probably whatever he's squeezing into the credits that I don't recognize as his song. Like I have never actually said like I don't care about Rob Zombie music at all. But for some reason when I was like in high school and House of a Thousand Corpses came out,
Yep.
in my head I went, "Well, I have to see that. Like I have to see that." Rob Zombie is this weird metal dude people talk about and he made a move. I have to go see that. And I don't know why, but I fell in love with it. No reason. It
Is
is a bad movie. First off, Chris Hardwick's in that movie, and I don't
is
like
he?
to think about that.
Yeah, no, no. Is that the
But
movie with the lawnmower? Where is that not? Maybe it's not that. Maybe that's not even a Rob
about,
Zombie
are you
movie.
thinking about Drowning Mona?
I don't know. There's my coworker showed me a scene from a movie. It was a zombie movie, and I thought it was a Rob Zombie movie, but it's like
I mean, well, here's the thing. I
it's
haven't
all.
watched. Is it all clowns? Were there clowns with those zombies?
I don't know. I don't remember.
That's the one I haven't watched yet.
I
Is
just
31.
Oh, okay. I just know that it's like in a mansion and it's all zombies around and this guy uses a lawnmower and just just mows through them. But like he holds the lawnmower.
Oh, you know what you were probably watching? You might have been watching one of the Dead Rising movies
Maybe it
with
was
like
that.
Frank Castle and all that,
I don't
because
know.
that sounds like the type of thing they would put in a Dead Rising game.
I just know it was a zombie movie, so never
Yeah.
mind. But
So well,
it was the
so here's
coworker who loves Rob Zombie, so I just put the
right.
two.
So House of a Thousand Corpses is basically like a remake of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it is his like homage to that and the 1,000 other movies that copied it afterwards. And so he just copied them, and which is why it's weird that like I watched that movie and I go, okay, I know exactly what this is. Every step of the way, this movie is just a copy of like 1,000 other movies. And yeah, I don't know if it was just the time I watched it in my life, or if it's the fact that like there is this like weird thing watching it, and you go, okay, so you know, I actually didn't even know it was Chris Hardwick the first like 5 times I watched it. I only knew it recently because someone told me it was him,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, I'm gonna rewatch that now because I don't remember him in that movie. I didn't realize he is like it was like right after he had left that Singled Out show, and he was like just going into his like alcoholism recovery, and he was still kind of overweight. And so you look at him, he's like he's got like long black greasy hair and like black stubble, and
Oh,
I was like
God.
I never would have recognized I did not recognize him until now. But the other guy, so it's these 14s, find this house out in the middle of the woods that's supposed to be near this weird urban legend, and then they all get killed by the crazy family that lives there.
Mm.
The other one is Rainn Wilson. So like
Oh.
it's Rainn Wilson and Chris Hardwick and two women I have seen before but couldn't tell you their names for the life of me. But then halfway through the movie, when the sheriffs start looking for them, Walton Goggins shows up in one of his first character actor roles as just like this like angry sheriff's deputy. And I was like, okay, this I remember because Walton Goggins gets the best death in that movie. Because there's this like whole raid. There's this like, I say raid. It's 3 sheriffs on the house,
Yeah.
and they do this beautiful shot. It is. I have no idea how his cinematographer must have come up with this because there's no way Rob Zombie came up with something this good. Is they start playing this like 1960s kind of upbeat acoustic folk song, and they go into slow motion, and it's all very like, oh, I'm an indie guy making a horror film, so
yeah.
I put like this boppy music over a bunch of deaths, and you start seeing it's how the sheriffs like discover all the bodies, and it's so horrifying, and then the music starts to quiet, and it's just Walton Goggins left. He's the only one of them left, and he turns around, and there's one of the members of the family with just a revolver in his face, and the music stops. And this whole thing takes like 45 seconds, maybe even over a minute. It is this beautiful crane shot where Walton Goggins turns around and just kneels.
Yeah.
And they get this must have been the most expensive shot in the movie because they had to get a crane for this. Like, there's no way they didn't get a crane for the shot, and everything else is so cheap. This had to be the most expensive thing. It just is like dead quiet, and it just pulls back and pulls back and pulls back, like so long and stretched out. Nothing in this movie is this long of a shot, and it is so far back before he finally gets like shot in the head and just falls over. And you don't
Oh
see
my
blood.
God.
It's not a gory shot or anything, which I think is the most amazing thing, is that he didn't use that opportunity it could have been the goriest shot in the
Yeah.
film.
Oh yeah.
And instead, nothing. You see the smoke from the gun and Walton Goggins tips over,
Wow.
and that is it. And I that is the scene I think of every time I think of this movie. And it's probably the first time I ever saw Walton Goggins in something. And then as soon as I like started watching Justified, I went, this guy is amazing.
Well, there you go.
So like that was the start of my weekend. And then I watched the sequel, which is not as good, but ends with the best use of Freebird I've ever heard in
Nice.
a movie. And that was like the start of my weekend, and that was great. And then, it's kind of a middling weekend. There's stuff going on back and forth. And then this volunteer thing I do, I got like a really crappy call for that, and that whole thing just like, all of a sudden I was like, what did I do to the universe?
Yeah.
Like your whole moment with the car accident, and like this was my moment where, because here's the thing, I didn't text you the next day when I got another call from them.
Oh no.
So we were
Oh.
originally going to record this episode last Sunday, and
Yep.
I got a call from this thing, and so I couldn't do it. Had to
Yeah.
reschedule. And then the next, like literally Monday night, another call from the same thing, and I
Oh,
went, oh God, like what did I do to the universe? Because it has been months
jeez.
since I've gotten a call from this service. Months,
Yeah,
literal
that's
months,
crazy.
and 2 days in a row. I can't. I have to go to like an ER for something,
Yeah.
and it was like, well, there we go. I must have pissed somebody off.
Jeez. Yeah, that's tough. That's
Oh
a tough
man.
one.
So I spent the rest of the week. I spent the rest of the week hiding in the world of Pokemon.
Well, that's what everybody does. I feel is
Yeah.
that we just hide into Pokemon and Whimsy and all this and forget why it's actually bad. But
Yeah.
segues are fun.
They are.
Ah.
Um, yeah. So I finally sat down and decided I was going to try recording the Nuzlocke run, like literally
Yeah.
recording it, talking over it, doing it, and I cannot believe how hard it is to like keep up the energy to just keep talking in like 15-minute sprints while you're playing a game.
Well, because it's
Especially when like 90% of that game is walking around
exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, especially with Pokemon, because it's like in a Nuzlocke, it's not like you're just playing to play to have fun. You're you're literally making it harder on yourself by needing to keep your Pokemon alive, which
Oh my God.
involves endless grinding to
Yeah,
level
so-
them up.
So I don't know if have you ever heard the analogy for football where it's like it's 3 hours on TV but like 20 minutes of actual football being
Football?
played. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what doing a Nuzlocke run feels like when you can
Yeah.
record it and you can actually see the numbers. I've done like almost 30 different videos for this. Like
Oh,
I've
wow.
been sectioning them out in parts, and I'm marking off the ones that are just me grinding, where I don't talk at all because there's no point. I just like this is me grinding. And it's really funny where it's like, okay, I'm going to record an episode for like anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes depending on what I'm doing. And in my head I'm like, well, I'll fix it later and cut it down. First off, God knows what that's going to look like when I have to actually edit that. I haven't even
It'll
started.
be fun.
Oh yeah.
You could
But then
send
I
it
look
to
at-
me. I could edit it for you.
But then I look at it.
I have no problem with that.
Don't tempt me.
No problem doing that. I would do it.
But then I look at the grind video and it's like part 1, 20 minutes or so as I start the game and I get going. Okay, cool. Part 2, 15, 20 minutes as we kind of get through this route and that route. Okay. Part 3, where I'm grinding to get ready to go against Brock in Pewter City, an hour and a half as I'm just getting everybody up to a level where I'm like, And there was a good point there where I looked at it and I went, I have spent more time grinding than I have recording my voice talking about this game as I'm going.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh
And so
my
like I'm looking
god.
at it, it's like, yeah, this is in 30 parts. And if I just take out the grind videos I'm not going to use, it's in 20 parts. It's at least
Yeah.
10 hours of me just like grinding and just like nothing going on as I grind through
That's
things.
amazing. Oh my god.
Oh, and then
That's so good.
you get in this weird headspace while you're doing it. You get in this weird headspace where you start to like really think about the fact that what you're doing is supposed to be entertaining. And then you start thinking, "Oh God, am I being entertaining enough?"
Yeah,
And so
that
it's like,
yeah,
"Oh,
I get that cuz I used to stream like once a week, and there would be times where it's like I just want to play the game. I don't have anything else to say right now. Hope the game is entertaining enough. Like so I totally get that. And then it's like, oh god, I'm too into the game right now to say anything. I found that
yes."
happening.
Yeah.
I think I streamed I don't even remember what it was. Oh, it was probably either Song of the Deep or Rhyme. Like it was either that Rhyme, Song of the Deep, or Abzu. And I don't remember which one it was, but I just remember like I'm playing it and I was like, on mic, I was like, I haven't said anything in a good 20 minutes. Sorry, guys. Like, just didn't have anything to say there. But yeah, so I get that.
Yeah, I'm like doing battle, and you do those like long strings of trainer battles on the routes, and you're like, okay, so the first couple of them, you have enough energy in your head to like read off what they're saying and do it in a stupid voice, and
Yep.
you're like, yeah, I bet that's gonna be entertaining, and that's great. And then you realize like 5 or 6 trainers in, you haven't said anything while you're like doing this stuff. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna do this move now. Oh, I think I'm gonna do this. Oh, I should probably swap them out. I think they're gonna die. And then I realized there's no way someone finds that entertaining to just hear me be like, "Oh, I think Pidgey's about to die.
Strategy.
Time to swap it." Yeah. But what's great is then when you're just kind of zoning out, and then you look at it and something happens. Like something completely unexpected happens. So like someone dies, someone gets knocked out, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this move now. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna crit. Hey, what happened to my crit there? Oh my god! Oh my god! What happened? Oh god! Oh no! And
Right.
this is like random burst of emotion as you're like
That's
just
amazing.
sitting there. And I was just like, I can't believe it. I went into the SSN recently, so right now. Here's my plan. My plan is that I'm just gonna finish the game and then do all of the other stuff later, which means that I have to live in this like bachelor-esque living space where I know what's going to happen months ahead of time. Anybody else who's going to bother to watch this thing. But like I go into the SSN, I lost 3 Pokemon in the SSN after
Oh.
losing no one for a very long time. Because the other thing I noticed was that I have tried a Nuzlocke run so often in the last like 3 months that we've been talking about it on this podcast. I've tried it so many times that I can get through the first like 2 gyms of that game with nothing happening
Yeah.
because I know what to expect. And then as soon as I hit the part where I didn't know what to expect, I started losing
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It does make sense.
I was just
Like,
like, no, I know what to do here. I just get into this middling thing, and then the fights will be entertaining enough where I'm not
yeah.
over leveled, but not so bad where I'll lose people. And then as soon as I was like, I don't know what comes next, what do I
So,
do?
so do
Is
you?
when I start throwing people in and going, hey, you're gonna make it through there? Nope, you're weak to that. Bye.
So, do you now currently only have 3 Pokemon?
No. I'm still good. I'm
Okay.
still relatively good.
All
I've got a
right.
good because by the time I got through the second gym, I actually had extra Pokemon. Like I was
Oh,
doing
good.
really
Okay.
well. The problem was that like I like literally like the last 2 or 3 times I have done an Nuzlocke run, I have lost to the rival battle like right around Cerulean City, like right around the second badge.
Yeah.
So like that first one that I did, that first one where I was messaging you, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in Lavender Town. This is great. I'm doing awesome. And then I died 5 days later.
Yeah.
Like that is the farthest I have gotten in this game in 20 years
Oh,
because I
wow.
haven't played the game since I had it on Game Boy. So like the last few ones, I just keep having these bad runs where I lose in Mount Moon or I lose in Cerulean or I lose in another route. And so like I am currently getting to the SSN is the farthest I have gotten in months.
Nice.
And so like I don't remember anything. I don't remember it
She's like,
anymore.
hopefully
Yeah.
this works. Oh no, did it.
Oh my God.
I
Oh, it's
mean,
so bad.
I look forward to watching that. You don't
It's
understand.
just like
You
I can't
told you told me you were recording it, and I was like, yes.
I can't express the liberal use of oh my God. Oh my God. That comes out. Even when I like even when I hit like the first route where I accidentally killed the thing that I was supposed to be
Trying to
catching. So
catch.
I spent like the next 2 episodes going, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I lost that thing. Oh man, this fight would have been
That's
so much
great.
easier with that thing I lost.
That's fantastic.
Because here's the thing. The first
Oh
like
my god.
everything up to like Mount Moon on that first run, I did in the first day because I had a Saturday where I wasn't doing anything. So I started in the morning and I just kept going. So like you can even hear me like you can even hear in my voice as I'm getting more and more exhausted because I'm on like 10 hours of gameplay because I was just like I had nothing else to do today, so I'm just gonna keep going.
I mean,
Oh man. Ugh. But
so
this is why
excited. I'm so
But this is
excited.
why I'm like always worried about streaming live because that's exactly what happens. Like you start off with like all this great energy and everything's going
And
and
it
then you're
dies
just like,
down.
yeah, like 3 hours in, you're like, well, I'm exhausted,
Yeah.
but
Well,
afraid to stop.
that's why you like I would only stream like an hour. Like it's like I can only do an hour. Maybe I can squeeze in two if it's like a game that I have a lot to say about. Maybe I can do that, but I can't do more than an hour. Cuz there are
Especially if it's like a brand new game you've never played before and it's like, I don't know
yeah.
what to say about this
Yeah.
other than I'm experiencing it.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I usually I mean it got to the point where I wouldn't even say stuff about the game anymore, which is also fine. Like it's anything to keep people's attention. I mean, it's basically like this. It's like we could talk about anything. We could go off on tangents if we want. It's just to keep the people occupied for an hour out of their day, right? So like there would be times where I would be playing something, I'd just start singing songs. I would just start singing, and it's like, or I would be like eating, which is super rude to do on a stream, but I don't care. Like I would eat something and be like, "Oh, it's pretty good."
yes.
You got
Nothing
what
like
you
punk
guys having for
streaming.
dinner?
Nothing like punk streaming by just chewing into a microphone.
I mean, I was kind enough to like move the microphone away from my face when I would be like eating chips, but yeah, no, yeah, it's a lot of fun though. I wish I was streaming a little bit more than I am, but it's just finding games that are streamable
I
and
mean,
making
that's
sure
just
you
it,
have
right?
access to them, you know?
Is that you start to worry that like people are watching and it's like, well, this I've watched this game for an hour. What else is there? It's like, well, this is I mean, I'm still going.
Yeah.
You can watch me keep going if you like.
I think it's just it's there. So Devin and I bought these shirts when we went to PAX East, and it was it's a purple shirt. It's a really nice shirt, and it says "Stream like no one is watching," and it's like
Mm.
yes, like that's how I have to, like
Just whatever
that's how
thought is
I
going through
was
your
doing
head.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that's how I was streaming for the most part, and it's like yeah, that's so true. Like just it you're basically just bringing people along as you play your game, as you're acting naturally while playing your game. You know, it's almost like if you were hanging out with a friend, you know? It's like
Except that that friend has to sit there and just listen to you babble.
yeah.
Just like I think that's the other thing is that like yes,
Co-
I should be like just do this like stream of conscious thing. Just whatever thought is popping into your head, just say it and just see if it grabs people's attention and just kind of go from there. And at the same time, you're like, at the
what am
same
I
time, you're
saying?
right. At some point, you start going like, what am I talking? I've said the same thing 5 times in a row now. What am I talking about? Is this what my brain does when I'm not listening to it? Like, yeah, this weird. It's a weird therapy session to have on on camera with people listening.
So do you have a camera on you as well
So
while you're
I
streaming?
no, so I don't have a webcam.
Okay.
So I don't have that. But what I did was like, I decided I wanted it to look quasi professional, so I created like a background
Yeah,
and
I
like
saw that. I like
I,
that.
I created a background. It's like got the little Nuzlocke rules in one side, and then like it's got a place for me to like type in my team later, which means I have to literally sit there and remember when I caught people so that I could plug them in and when they die and when I swap them out. So which like in my head I was like, yeah, no, that should be easy. That's fine. It's like, wait, when do I do that? Do I do that before I cut the video down? Do it after the video down? When do I have? I should probably have like just I should record just a bit of the game music so that I have that to play over um, when I'm doing these like title cards or anything. It's like, oh God, what do I do? What do my title cards look like? It was just. Every time I think about what the actual process of putting a video together is like, it's like my brain kind of explodes.
I'm telling
And I was
you,
just like,
I will do it.
here's this. I will at some point I will send you like the first episode, and we'll
Okay.
see what you can do with it,
Okay.
and see what you wanna see if you can work with like whatever I cobbled together for background stuff. I literally searched for like I need like stock image Pokemon background that doesn't that just like can be easily read from far away as, oh yeah, that's a Pokemon video
Yeah.
without looking like
Stole it.
but also yeah, something that like if you put it up on a wallpaper website, I feel okay like sticking this in the back of a video I'm never gonna make money off of anyway. And so I did that.
Yeah.
It's just got like the Pokeball in the corner, and it looks like it will work fine. But then I started to realize things like I use a program called OBS, which I think
Yep.
Devin probably
Yeah.
uses. And
Yep.
I don't know if
That's
you
what
have
I
before.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's free. It's what most people use. Like even like Waypoint, like a professional video game website,
Yeah.
uses OBS to do their streams because it's free. It's really well made. It's fantastic.
It's
Also,
very
you have to
user
like
friendly.
yeah. If you're so, I mean, even I have figured it out, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I've well, so it's capturing like the actual window from the program I'm using to use the game, and I realized at some point that that window will change shape if I change the shape of the window I'm working with, which I didn't realize at first.
Yeah.
So I also have no like specific frame in the background I created because I didn't think that that was going to be a thing I needed. So I'm sure like two or three videos probably look fine, and then if you go like five videos down, you probably realize that very slightly off, like the dimensions of the window is different because I restarted the game and I stretched the window back out, and I have no way of marking where that window is supposed to be. Like,
Oh God.
oh, I know you're probably as a video editor, you're
That's.
screaming at me right now.
It's like,
This is what happens when the internet lets
gotta
like
write that
random
down.
like so well, that's the problem is that like I don't know how to find that in OBS, and so I just kind of went, well, it looks about the same.
Yeah. Eyeball it. I'll eyeball it.
Yeah,
Looks good. Looks fine. It's
and then
passable.
it doesn't help that like the window to play the game is in front of the actual OBS window because I have that up in the background so I can make sure it's actually recording,
Yeah.
which means I'm seeing this weird double image
Yep.
of the game behind me
Yep.
as I'm playing. But like I'm like, oh, I can't see if this is stretched the correct way because the window I'm stretching is literally in front of the OBS window that I need to be looking at right now. So I just kind of go, well, the numbers for the team list are about just as far, and I can kind of see where I put rules on the bottom, and it looks just as much space. So yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
That's great. Oh my God.
The only thing I could say is that it stays stable from video to video. So unless you're putting two of those videos up next to each other, you might not notice.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's small enough where like people who are watching it won't even like
yeah.
will literally not even think of it.
Uh,
Yeah.
It's exactly how I used to put videos together when I was like streaming, when I was like putting videos together more regularly last year, where I was just like, I'm using this free software, I'm using YouTube tutorials to put it together, and I'm just hoping to God that people don't notice if it's a little bit different from here to there.
Nice.
Uh,
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that you kind of gotta think of when when you're editing a video, and it's like I need to remember that too. It's like, of course, you are the person who is creating it. So, and you have a vision in your head of what it should look like and what you want it to look like. So, if it doesn't have that, even if it's like just like a centimeter off, you're like, someone's gonna notice. This is awful. This is the worst thing. This is the worst thing I've ever created. I can't do this. Blah blah blah. Like it like that goes through your head, and I've had that go through my head, and then like I'll have someone outside of it watch it, and they'll be like, "This is fantastic. Like you did such a good job." It's like, oh yeah, because you're not as close to the project as I am. Right. Like, so that being said, I mean, you should try and not like slack on
Change it wildly.
stuff or change it wildly. But like, it is kind of good to know that like other people are going to see it and be like, this, like, I can't do this.
The It's really funny because the workaround I created for myself was not, oh, just go in and create a frame because that will be easier. No, in my head it's just I'm looking at them right now. Both the game program and OBS are just minimized right now. So when I go back to record, I just hit start recording and go again. So if I just don't touch them, it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
it'll be fine. Yeah, they'll stay in the same spot
Exactly.
as long as you don't even like. Yeah, don't
Yeah, as long as I
resize, don't do
just
anything.
don't touch anything. The only things I gotta touch is that if I'm gonna go and do a grind video, I gotta mute the mic because otherwise, like, that's it.
Oh my god.
Oh God,
Co
it's so cobbled together. It feels like I'm cobbling it together like MacGyver too, which is like the
Yeah.
other crappy parts of it. Because I've
Well,
got friends because I was in the newspaper in college, and I've got friends who are in like graphic design and stuff now, and I know like every time I do this, I'm just like Casey and Danny are screaming at me from like they both like what they both did was it was like when Obi-Wan felt Alderaan die in Star Wars, and was like it just there was a disturbance in the Force. Every time I do something graphically terrible, I just feel like Casey scolding me and Danny just sad somewhere.
that's
And it's
awesome. I mean, it's not awesome. Like that's
and
funny.
you.
That's funny. Yeah, that's great. Oh my god. Oh, that's so funny.
It's like every because I could think of all I could think of was like flashback to these like we would put the newspaper together on Monday nights, and then we would literally send it to a printer, and they would have it for us like Tuesday afternoon. So, but so much of Monday night was like, okay, the stories are in, we're laying them out, we're putting a story in, we know we've got this many columns and this little bit of, and like all of the headlines have to be the right, like the same size font, and we have this much space to work with where it still looks good. And
It
every
was like a
time
lot of
every time someone had to make like a tiny little adjustment where it was like, I have to make this photo to this scale, and I know that like I really want it to be this scale because it lines up with everything perfectly, but if I do this, the rest of it fits in without like screwing up a whole paragraph, and I could just feel someone die inside every time they had to do like half a word on a line before
yeah.
it would jump down again. And like every time I do something, I do something where like I'm gonna do this to scale. Like for some reason, I don't know where I got it in my head where if I hold shift and I think it was probably Adobe because that was the program I used for so long. It was like if I hold shift and I drag it this way, it will keep the scale of
Yes,
everything. Look
exactly.
beautiful. Here's
That
the
is.
problem. That doesn't work with this program.
Oh.
And so every time I do that, I go, oh, and I do it every time as if it's going to change. And like I go and I start to go over and I stretch the whole thing across my window instead of it coming down like it's
Yep.
supposed to. And I'm like, whoops, hold on, bring it back.
There
And
must
then I
be an option to do it.
there
There
probably
has to be.
there probably is, but there's also like there's these like little quirks like the ROM program I'm using. If I start a game, it automatically goes back to the literal original screen size of a GBA,
Yep.
which on a giant monitor looks so small that you wonder how the hell you ever looked at a game that small and played it. But the thing is that if I do that, but I've already stretched the window out, it doesn't resize the window in OBS.
Yeah.
Which said if I then turn around and like, well, I need to be able to see this game and stretch it out, all of a sudden in OBS it's stretching out again, and it's like, wait, hold on, everything, go back to where you started.
Everything just is wrong.
I'm so confused.
So you were saying about like resizing and doing all that. It's
Yeah.
like I shouldn't say I hate math. I'm not very good at math.
Matt
just-
and I have a passing relationship.
Yeah.
really.
So
Yeah.
I mean I could do math. I'm just not the best person. You don't want me doing your math. You don't want me doing your taxes. Let me just say that. But there's a thing with editing or like even like Photoshop or anything like that, or like formatting, like the math that comes with that is something that I love and have always loved. Like it's like I will have a notebook with coordinates, just like, okay, so my x-axis is here, my y-axis is here, okay, every single screen has to be that. Like and that's what I do with editing, like film editing or something. It's like if I have a title here, I need it in the space everywhere, so I need to know the coordinates. So it's not like huge math, but it still is math in a way, kind of. Because it's like you have to think in your head, like, okay, where can what can I get away with in this space of these
In
coordinates?
this weird physics, I work in, where
Yes.
the weird 2 dimensions that I work in on everything.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like even in like Word or something, formatting something like that, or columns for a newspaper, like that's stuff that I have always loved playing around with and doing. So it's just funny that
It's weird because I have this weird direction where it's like if someone tells me that stuff, where it's like, okay, just make sure everything fits this formula or this exact kind of size thing, I can do that, and I'll have like I could waste hours doing like that, just repetitive of like just follow this format and do it, and you're good. To the point where I recently figured out how to obtain ROMs of every Super Nintendo North American game.
oh
So,
yes, you
so my
so
project
you
is
have
going along
said.
well. So my project is going well. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
what I've been doing for the last week is trying to sort it into release month, of just like so I can kind of keep it in my head. So that's 600 plus things that I'm like
Trying to
categorizing.
categorize.
And I don't know why I could do that for like 3 hours at a time, and I absolutely love it. It's like
Yeah.
just going through the list here on I got my list here from Wikipedia that tells me the release, and I got these games here, and I just start sorting them into folders, and I number the folders so that, like, because Windows is Windows, and we'll take June and July and August and separate those into alphabetical order if you don't number them. So
Yep.
you need to keep them in release.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then it's like, but then you hit these weird things where for some reason the Wikipedia thing just says, oh, this game came out in 1993. It's like, okay, when? Oh, we don't know.
But
Sometime in
when in
1990.
1993?
Whoever wrote and edited this last only knows it was 1993. It's like, okay, well, now I'm going to take 20 minutes to go find that, and I couldn't be happier in that 20 minutes, like categorizing that crap.
Yeah. That's funny too. Yeah,
And it's like it's not. I mean, it's not math. I mean, it's not. I could do formatting and I do math. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do the first part of that. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it forever.
yeah.
Just don't make me figure it out,
Yep.
because otherwise I end up with a screen on my YouTube videos that's not exactly the same every time.
Well, yeah, like I loved figuring out formulas. Like if you gave me a formula and you gave me the numbers, like I loved figuring them out, but needing to make the formula, like I couldn't be like, "Oh, this kind of formula would equal that." No. It's like but formulas, I loved solving formulas. Like that was the thing in math that I was great at. I could do a formula so fast. Probably couldn't now, but like in algebra and stuff, I could do it like that, like nothing. Um but yeah, it's funny. Like but I was going to say, yeah, organizing folders on a computer is like one of the most satisfying things in the digital computer world, I think. Like as far as organization,
I know it's
because
weird.
you
It's
just
weird
know
because
where
like,
everything is.
yeah, I mean, it's for one thing, it's like you're putting everything in place, which means that like your brain is just like, okay, I know where that is. I
Yeah.
can go. Like I don't have to go find it. I know where it is. I do the same thing at work. So I run a college bookstore, and one of the things we have to do is put all of the books in the system for a class.
Hmm.
And as the manager of this bookstore, that falls on me to mostly do that,
Yeah,
which means
exactly.
that as we have classes starting on Monday, and I've got people just starting to pick up books with financial aid and all this other stuff, and so I've got people running around, and even workers, like temporary workers who don't know where everything is, where they're coming up to me and is like, hey, I don't know where this is, and literally I look at a piece of paper and go, oh, okay, you're going to go 3 aisles that way and down.
Yeah.
They're like, how do you know that? I was like, because I'm the one that literally put that there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
it's
I love
nice.
it. Like,
It's nice. And then
and
someone
then
comes in and screws your system up. It's like, "No, do not touch this. Tell me what you need to do and I'll do it." There are some like documents where it's like, you guys can't touch this. If you need to change something, you let me know because I am not risking the organization that I put onto this Excel sheet. That's not happening. That's not happening.
and then like when you're researching something like that where it's just like I'm literally like my hobby right now is sorting out Super Nintendo games, which sounds like the dorkiest thing I could say. Well, what's even dorkier? Okay, I'm gonna describe a couple of terribly dorky things I've done recently. Jeopardy here comes on at 6 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, that makes
uh, bef-
sense.
Before the wheel, which is the weirdest thing
Oh,
because
it
when I
is?
yeah, exactly. For years of my life, the wheel came first and then Jeopardy. And
Yeah, that is
like the
strange.
Jeopardy comes on at 6 and the wheel comes on at 6:30.
Yep.
So there was a point last week where I was literally sitting here playing one of the grinding things on my TV in my bedroom while Jeopardy's on the TV in my living room, and I'm just like positioned where I can see both of them at once.
Nice.
So because I was like I need something to do while I'm grinding through this, and so I'm just gonna stand here in my doorway and look at this like weird half screen of Pokemon, so I can see my TV with Jeopardy on
That's
it.
fantastic. That's amazing. I mean, Jeopardy is
Uh,
very important.
yeah, and so well, last week was the tournament of champ was like they're doing like their tournament of champions stuff right now,
Yeah.
and last week was the colleges, and one of the guys was from Brown, so of course I was rooting for
Yes.
him
Yeah.
because got to root for the home team,
Oh yeah.
and so
Always.
but the best part was like one of the questions was like, "What are these colors?" And it was, oh, it was like russet and tan or something. And someone else was like, "Oh, that's Brown University."
Oh
And
no.
the guy from Brown was just like so pissed off.
Oh, that's
See
the
it on his face.
worst. That's the worst. Oh my god. That's happened
Uh,
before where it's just like you can't help but laugh. Like it's like,
yeah.
dude, that was your question. That was tailor made for you.
Yep. He still won anyway.
Yeah.
He was like $4,000 ahead of everybody else.
Nice.
So
Nice.
you're good. But one of the other things, so like so I'm like sorting out these Super Nintendo games. I'm watching Jeopardy in the background. I'm playing Pokemon in the other room. And so I'm just thinking I'm living in this like weird 90s dork castle
World.
of a house.
That's
Because I'm
awesome.
also watching Jeopardy on that like that like old TV that I got that
Yeah,
I talked
yeah.
about before. Yeah. So I'm like watching Jeopardy on like standard definition from like
That's
90s
awesome.
TV.
Oh my god.
But I'm sorting through these games and I'm going through this Wikipedia page and I come across this game that was called it was like MACS as like an acronym and I can't remember what the rest of it was. It was like Rifleman Challenge or something. And I realized it's not in this giant pile of Super Nintendo games I have right now. I'm like, wait, but I have all the games. How do I not have the
How does
game that I
this
don't
this
have?
does not
What is this?
compute?
What is this Max? What is this Max game I've never heard of? So I start looking for it, and I found this really cool website. I think it was called like SNES Central, where someone else had done a fairly similar project where they just were going through all the Super Nintendo games on a blog. And what Max was, if I can remember the acronym, it was like Military Arsenal something. I can't remember what the C and the S was. But what it was is that this was not a retail game. This was a light gun.
Oh.
This was a light gun
Oh.
shooter
Wow, okay.
created by the U.S. Army to
What?
train troops in marksmanship. And so what they did was they had a very special Super Nintendo cartridge created, and they had a picture of this cartridge. The label on it is literally a white label that just says Max Arsenal Training on it, or like
That's
Max like marksmanship.
crazy.
And so what they did was, so you've got this, and there was also a picture of this of someone using this, which was weird. So the light gun, just like Duck Hunt,
Yeah.
right? The light gun thing like that, and the Super Scope on the Super Nintendo. But what they did was they made a special light gun that was modeled after one of the rifles the Army uses to be the specific weight and size, so that they could literally
What?
use their TV as a rifle range to train in marksmanship.
Holy shit.
And so there's this picture of this army dude at the end of this long table, big TV at the end with a Super Nintendo literally hooked up to it, and then just a wire going back to the gun in his hand, and he's doing marksmanship training on this table. so that
that.
they have to set up rifle ranges. They could just
Holy
set up a
shit.
TV with this cartridge. So you can the only way to get it is that like a few years ago people started selling it on eBay and they
Yeah.
realized this thing existed because for a long time no one knew this thing even existed because it was nowhere. It was not sold anywhere. And so it was just like we oh yeah, by the way, the army created this program to train killers with your video games. Here you go.
Holy
How do you
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, if like these are the moments where I wish we had a camera while we did podcasts because like my face, like that's
Because
crazy.
and like that exact thing is the reason that I do like dumb tedious hobby stuff that I do because
Because you learn that.
things like that.
That's
So like a few years ago, like I decided like the kind of the predecessor to this and the blog was I was like, oh, I'm gonna just look at the entire history of video games because I just choose giant broad subjects apparently.
yeah. Why not?
And so I learned what the first kind of home video game console was, which I never really knew, and it's called the Magnavox Odyssey. And the Magnavox
Okay.
Odyssey came in what looked like a giant board game box
Hmm.
and came with four cartridges. And what those cartridges did is they programmed little dots on your screen to do one of four things, depending on what cartridge was plugged in,
Okay.
and then your controller would do whatever that programmed thing would do. So the way you would play the game is that in the rest of this box were these plastic overlays that you would just stick on the TV, and then there were little game pieces inside so that you could play the rest of the game.
yeah.
So there's a like a Pong variant in there, which is like okay, so stick in the thing that says the little dot can move at these specific angles if they hit a thing, depending on what part of the screen they hit and what where you're holding the controller, and then you stick on the screen what looks like a tennis court. And so you just stick
Awesome.
that to your TV screen, and then it would just bounce back and forth that way. Or there was like this other one that was like this weird kind of fake Operation Doctor game, which was like
yeah.
just put this overlay of a human body on the screen, and what'll happen is like a little part will light up, and then you pick up a certain card out of the box, and it will tell you what to do next. Of like, oh, this person's got wrist pain, and this is how you do this and that.
That's
And like that's the
super
first
cool.
and that's the first home video game console was basically board games, but they just had
But
little
for
dots on your screen to kind of but you had to make the screen in order to make it work because they
that's
couldn't do
super
anything
cool.
to make a dot move.
That's
Yeah,
super cool. That's
and
really
like
cool.
that's the stuff I love when I do this like
Yeah.
random tedious crap. It's to find these like little gems of like
Like
weirdness
little
that came out of that.
nuggets of joy.
Yes,
That's awesome though. No, yeah, I get that, dude. Like yeah, I totally love that stuff too. Like when I get to learn something new that I never like that blows my mind of like something that I've loved for so long and it's like I never knew. Holy crap. Like it's blows your mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Blows
and
your
then
mind.
And you start to see other things like, oh, here's the weird months where like they release two games, and then October comes around, and here's 50
50,
games that
yeah.
they released at
Oh my god.
once. Because hey, it's Christmas now.
Yep.
Here, have a bunch of games.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how I feel about like stuff I learned in school, like the first camera, or like there was a camera that like Disney used in order to give depth, but it was like this like tower thing, and it was a camera. It's like what? Why? Like what? We've come a long way.
And just think of the amount of money that they put into doing that
Yeah.
for the gamble that they might make some money back if they
Yep.
were going to do that. Yeah.
It's crazy. Oh my god. Well, we've had eventful weeks.
I mean, it's weird because our eventful week was I sat in front of my computer and did this thing, but I learned a bunch
But
of
you
crazy
learned a
crap.
bunch. Yeah, exactly. Like that's still eventful. You knew more than you did last week about
That's
the world.
very true. That is absolutely true.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Well, oh God, wow. We did take up an hour.
We
Yay.
did. Yeah, we were. I told you we'd do it.
Oh man, you
Fill
have
it.
so much more faith in how much we can BS than I can. So,
You just gotta fill it.
this has been Say Report Junior. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us
Woohoo.
on on iTunes or whatever podcast thing you use.
Woohoo.
You can find us on Twitter at
Yeah.
sayreportjr, and you can find us individually. I am at Zerwhisky.
And I am at Dale's Brain.
And I mean, that's really all I've got.
That's
You
really
want to
it.
go check out your new car? I'm gonna go play more
Oh.
Pokemon and probably sort out more Super Nintendo games. So,
I don't get my car yet, though. They have to
oh
clean
darn.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Well,
okay, though.
at least
I'll just
at least
think
it'll
about
snow.
it.
At the very least, we can all go get ice cream. So there you
Exactly.
go.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dale Decker and Zach Sarowick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.